So it's Tuesday that I'm recording this. I actually thought about going live and just doing it for like my Wednesday video, but then it wouldn't be on Wednesday. So the reason being is because I get the calling to just kind of start by saying, like, talking about random things that's going on. I am not sure how it's all going to connect. So that's what I'm just doing. I'm just going to go with it. Okay. The first thing is I got into a car accident. I'm fine. They're fine. They rear-ended me, and that's it. That's what they wanted me to tell you. I'm just trying to think, because I'm like, well, is it something about the details? And it doesn't feel like that. Like, maybe I'll just say it just to, I don't know. Let me just say it. But I think it's just telling you that I got rear-ended. I'm not sure how that's going to be important for someone out there. Hopefully you're not going to get rear-ended, but it was just some person. She was super nice, but she didn't want me to call the cops, you know. I just from assessing her and how she was acting, you know, once I told her I was going to call the cops, she started getting kind of like really irate and sketchy, and then went into her car. She was calling someone, getting really angry, and was, from what looks to me, hiding paraphernalia into the floorboard of her back seat. First she put it underneath her passenger, and then she was messing with her bag, and then she put something into her floorboard. I was just kind of glancing because I didn't want to be too intrusive of what she was doing, but that's what it appeared to me. And then she even locked herself in her car in the back seat and was in there for a while, probably putting it up her butt. That's my hunch. But anyway, she was fine. They actually did a field sobriety test on her, and she passed. She did smell like alcohol, but you know, it is what it is. It's more about like the accident itself, which was fine. Like, I was at a stoplight, there were cars in front of me, and luckily nothing happened with anyone else. It was just me that got hit, and again, like, we were both fine. So, like, she didn't do it on purpose, I don't think. So it's just an accident. It's not a big deal. I don't know. Something about that to share with someone out there. The other thing is this owl feather that I have. So I was walking. This is just a replica, a very beautiful replica of the owl feather I found. I did not hold on to the owl feather I found, because that's not legal, I don't believe. So, anywho, yeah, I was just walking, and for a couple days I was taking the same route, and there was a piece of like a palmetto branch, and I kept looking at it. I kept thinking it was a feather every day. I was like, is that a feather? It wasn't a feather. And then, here it is. Here's a message, something about the third day. So on the third day, I found in that spot this feather, and I looked at it and I was like, no, it's not a feather. It's freaking palmetto. And sure enough, I was wrong that time. It was finally a feather. The palmetto was with it, still there. So I thought that was very interesting, because sometimes, how do I explain? Well, I feel that this is a sign for me, this owl feather. It's a great horned owl, and I feel like it's a sign, but the way that it comes through has a different resonance to it. So that's what I'm being called to specify, is that there's a different resonance to this particular message, this sign for me, What the sign message is, I honestly don't know. And then this segues into something else that I was guided to tell you guys that I completely forgot until now, which is I've been getting this message, like internally I've been getting this message. There's something repressed that I'm not addressing. It's like something that's actually a problem that I'm not seeing it as a problem. Like I'm kind of blind to it, right? Because I just keep suppressing it. And so I was even using some decks. I actually have the decks here. I was using some decks, and for days consistently the same things were coming through, which is consistent with what I just told you. And so I'm like, I don't know what it is. I tried to meditate. Now I didn't try that hard, but I did meditate, and I tried to set the intention of trying to understand or figure out what it is. And then even when I got into the accident, and I'm like, is that it? Was that like kind of foretelling, like, okay, you're not okay, which I am. So I don't know if maybe it was like, you know, I was like trying to just analyze it, like maybe it's not necessarily this emotional suppression, but it's like foretelling that something was going to happen that's not that good, and like you would have to deal with it, kind of thing, right? Because when I would look at the cards, it felt the same way that I was feeling when I would get the message, which is blocked. It's like hard to decipher because I'm not seeing it. And so this is important somehow, okay? For if you're still watching and you're like, I see it, then obviously it's making sense to you. If not, then, you know, thank you for continuing to watch. I hope this is serving as something for you. The other thing that I was going to say is the 3 days. That's been coming up for me for like probably like a couple months now, where I was reflecting on the significance of 3 days for me. 3 days is so important. I noticed this consistency, right? I see it in readings that I do on here that I wouldn't have noticed had I not recorded videos. Like if I didn't start doing these YouTube videos, and occasionally, which I hadn't done prior to this, I went and watched some of my old videos, which most of the time I don't ever rewatch them. I just upload it and leave it at that. But I felt like drawn, but it was very subtle, like this very subtle feeling to watch some of my old videos. And the videos that I watch, the proportion of how many I watched, there was a high proportion of them, like me bringing up 3 days. And so it's like sometimes, like that's a really like, okay, so one of them was I can't remember, was it Young Dolph? I don't know. You can see on there, it's one of the I don't know if I put it under true crime or if I did it under celebrity readings, because this is prior to anything happening with that, any conviction. But the title was like, give me 3 days. The vegan cheetah one, where there was a significance to 3 days after that. And then there was like 2 or 3 other ones where I mentioned 3 days. So it's like this window of 3 days that seems to work for me. There's also symbolism with 3 days that works for me. And then like the number 3 is very important for me too, because it's also that repetition where that's when I start paying attention. It's like 3 messages, you know, it's like consistent messages when it comes through so strongly. It's like the third one I refuse to ignore. And I mentioned that before. So they're bringing up that video, but I didn't rewatch that video. I just recall it because they're bringing me back to the time that I recorded it, when I was talking about how like the messages will come through in 3s for me. Where like if the first time I think it's like subtle and it's something that I could easily kind of ignore, and then the second time then it's kind of the same thing, but I'll pay more attention. I'm like, well, maybe it's a coincidence. And then the third time I'm like, okay, this is really just I can't refute this anymore. I need to just follow through with whatever this message is, okay? So hopefully this is kind of like, I don't know, whether it's scattered or not, hopefully this is starting to like really kind of take you know, form some sort of picture for you of what the message is for you. So I'm getting also Cleo. I'm getting the name Cleo. So Cleo might be significant here. And then they're connecting me to 2 Cleos, okay? There was a Cleo that I did a reading on. That was also the true crime videos. And then there's the Cleo from Miss Cleo. And it's about psychic abilities. And I'm seeing this as following your psychic nudges. So I'm seeing like a guide. Okay, I'm seeing you, and then I'm seeing a guide. I bet I could find some cards in here that'll kind of depict this for me. Actually, let's just pull cards and then see what's on it first. But I'll explain what I'm seeing in a moment here. So we have Page of Wands, 2 of Wands, 2 of Cups, reversed, 4 of Pentacles, reversed, Empress, reversed. I need to stare at that for a moment. Yeah. So you should already feel this. One ring circus and come together right here. Okay, so here's where I'm seeing the pattern between you and I of what I'm experiencing. So they're putting this in a symbolic form of the wreck is a physical representation of something being misaligned because I'm not paying attention. I'm not honoring something that seems to be significant for me. And when I say that, then I see myself being grounded into earth. So I haven't been grounding myself lately as much as I would like. I actually did feel kind of misaligned for like 2 days, probably 2 or 3 days. And then I like literally like went out and grounded myself. I was walking around in the dirt and on the beach and just trying to just be still and be present. And I have noticed, okay, so they're pointing this out too. So, you know, I'm not doing this as a career on here, right? Like on YouTube. And in like my personal life, I have a lot of different things going on, like business wise. And so those aren't in a line necessarily with my passion. Like this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I feel really drawn to. And, you know, the money helps me be able to do what I feel passionate about. But there is in some ways it pulling my attention away, right? And it can leave me ungrounded, like it can leave me distracted. And so as I sit here and really reflect, then I would say that now the message is coming through more clearly for me, that it's about, and I see the word life. I've never seen that here, the word life showing up. And they're showing me the fragility of life. They're showing me the impact of life. They're showing me the importance of life, and they're connecting it. Wow. Oh my goodness. This is so much. Okay, so like they're showing the battle between good and evil, and how what it really truly is in essence is like we are of divine origin. That's what we are at our core. And so evil is just, it's not necessarily the absence of good of light, it's the ignorance of light. It's the ignoring of light, right? Which if you're purposefully ignoring light, then you're just being ignorant, right? There is something that's like unaware, right? And the purpose of life for everyone, it differs as far as like some of our paths of why we're here, right? And there are some people I feel who have chosen to be here mostly just to create their own destiny, to create their own path. And irregardless of like what we choose to do in our particular life, that's based off of our ability to kind of express our free will, everything, like the tapestry of everything, all kind of moves, because they show me like really the word tapestry, because I'm seeing like tall curtains and the movement of the curtain and how it's all like interwoven, and it moves with like this elegance, this beautiful type of elegance to it. And that's kind of the same thing as like you were like, imagine opening a blind, you're moving it to the left, like it's always going to move left. So it doesn't necessarily matter like if you're using a stick to move it, if you're yanking it, how fast, how slow, like it's still going to move. So it's just the way symbolically they're showing me. So I just want to explain that. But it's like this emphasis on how, irregardless of what necessarily we perceive as our choice in this life, with what we're capable of being able to choose as we incarnate into who we are, you know, in this life, who you identify as, right? And like all the circumstances surrounding you. And then obviously the choices of others and how that may inflict your destiny, like your path, you know. And they're showing me examples of people who were in Gaza and how it's been cut short. Like it's like, well, when you're taken from this world, there are people who necessarily weren't on that path, but that was a possibility, and because of the other people's paths and their possibilities, they had chosen to do that, which ends that person's life in this lifetime, but that doesn't prevent them from continuing on their path, right? So they will either come back here as someone else, or they'll do something. You see what it still continues, right? And on the same breath, the person, for in that example, that had taken the life of others by their own choice, is still at their core of the light and interconnected, interwoven with the person that has their life taken. And they're just showing like the greater of everything, and how they're pulling it all the way back in. And it's like this absorption in an eyeball. So they're showing me like an eyeball, right? So it's like all of this is encompassed within our eyes, and how it's like the grandness of us and our story, as like the magnitude of our soul is so intense and so strong, and it's like it's shrunk into this one life experience, to the point that it can't be contained in this life. Like that the magnitude of it cannot be, it's almost indescribable. Not almost, because it is indescribable. Because then as I say that, then they bring me back out. And it's like how I say, like there's like so many like noises. It's not noise, it's like sounds, like music, colors. Like it's like things that I don't see existing here as you pull yourself out of it. And so then they bring me to this card, because I look down, it's like this feeling of like pulling apart to come back together. And the pulling apart is pulling apart from yourself. It's like they want your guides, there's a specific guide that I'm trying to bring up, but there's a specific guide here that is, and it's kind of being depicted here with the one ring circus as you, and then the coming together as this guide of wanting to usher you through this to kind of see what I'm describing in like your unique way. Even if you know this already, it's like there's something about revisiting it and reanalyzing it and putting it into perspective, so that when you come back to this earth, right, you come back to kind of not necessarily being grounded, because they don't want, it's this feeling of being like very light when you're grounded, right? It's not necessarily being rooted so far into this life and this experience that they're kind of showing me this person. It's almost like electricity, like you're so rooted in like this big tree and you're drawing in the energy of a lightning. They're not seeing it that way. It's more about if you were like a walking stick, like those little bugs. It's like you're rooted because you have these little like filaments or whatever on your legs, and you can claw into the bark of a tree and get rooted in that way, but you're also mobile and you can kind of exist and move around like that. There's some flexibility when it comes to this, and also it's not this it's almost like being stuck. It's almost like being stuck. They don't want you to feel stuck in an identity or stuck in a place or stuck in even the method of which you are experiencing these higher experiences, these higher levels of witnessing what it is that I've described to you. So it seems to me that this the imagery that I'm kind of trying to explain to you is going to come through to you in another way, a different way, or a way that you've experienced before, but it's going to be in a more expansive way than you've experienced prior to this. And the wide open, I'm seeing this as your third eye being closed. But it feels like there's a blockage, and then they're bringing me back to the example that I was talking about with you, where it's like my third eye. It's just not just my experiences when it comes to the distraction of my career. It's also, I would say like the self-sabotage that I have, right? But the insecurities that I have that I'm still working on when it comes to just like trusting myself, right? So it's just that faith in well, see, it is self, like have faith in myself. But in order to have faith in myself, then I have to reprogram my mind into saying, well, I'm having faith in God, because having faith in God puts the pressure off of me, because I know by nature, by putting myself into faith of God, then that I am not impervious to mistakes, misinterpretation, whatever kind of like problems that may be connected here, and like, you know, everything that you're attached to in this life, right? Because when I say that, they want to explain this, however this is going to be relevant for you. So they're pulling me out, and then they're also showing me they're referencing, so there's probably like an article or a book or a program that would be connected to, you know, a book. It could be written in a book, or it could be online, and it may have been connected to your Akashic records. Like maybe you were doing some sort of transgression therapy or something, or maybe this has to do, I don't know, there's something about a book. Okay, it feels like it's like my book. Like there's something important to a book, and it's something that you had done prior, and they're referencing this particular thing, okay, and how there's a desire from, not desire, but it's like your guides are hinting towards you revisiting this particular thing, okay, whether you go back to this book and do something, you know, in this book, or you think about how, like, your state of being when you read this particular book or this program or whatever it is. And try and like integrate how you were then into now in some way, because they're showing like something taking like it's like the way they're showing me is like a bird nesting, and then there's an egg, and then the egg hatching. So there's something hatching, and then they're emphasizing the egg, and they're saying how that difficulty, it's like the difficulty comes from within, in the sense that you have to not necessarily fight, but it's like you determine your growth by your ability to fight. It's like your tenacity is going to help you to break the egg in order for you to open yourself up to a world where you are allowed to grow outside of what's now going to be uncomfortable. Because when you're in the egg and you grow and you're ready to be it's just, and then they were showing me a baby, right? They're showing me this example, and then they bring up the Empress card. So it's like, and then they're showing me, okay, so this is supposed to also somehow be parallel to, it's supposed to also be a metaphor. Okay, so it's supposed to be metaphoric, literal and metaphoric in some way. So probably like double metaphors, but it's like a metaphor in this world, in this life, and then a metaphor of us coming into this life, of how, you know, when someone's pregnant, it's like, well, the baby is going to come out anyway, like whether you're ready or not, the baby's going to come out, right? So it's kind of the same concept of like, whether you're ready or not, you're going to have to break the shell. So it's almost like, what's the mindset that you want to be in? Because that dictates how you're going to react and act further down the line. So set the tone for that. And then they're showing this, and they're showing all these little shimmers, and this metaphor of us also coming, oh, you don't see it right here, these, and it's this metaphor here of coming into this life, and how it's like your path, your journey, your awareness of being you in this particular life as who you are today, whether you wanted to, like as you, okay, right now, you'd be like, I didn't want to be here, I'm scared, I'm this, I'm that, like, how are you feeling? It's like, you're here now. You didn't, you had a choice in some way, but you also didn't have the choice, because your soul, your radiant, extremely just profound soul has brought you here. So there's something very important here about all of this. And they're showing me a repetition of Earth and repetition of Moon. Okay, there's a repetition of that, and I'm seeing it connected here as Earth being represented as the physical Earth, and Earth being represented as your physical nature, like how you are in this world, and then the Moon being signified as your spirit, and is also being signified as your third eye. And in the Four of Pentacles, I'm seeing this is her withholding. This is Earth. It's a person there, but she's withholding Earth. So it feels as if there's the withholding of your destiny by you. And normally you would say, well, I always say you can't withhold your destiny because it's destined. But what it seems to be is this conflict of going down a path or following a particular path, following your guide, because your guide is telling you you're stuck in a situation that may not feel like you're stuck. And they're bringing me back to like what I was saying about me, where it's like, I don't even see what I'm blocked from, right? Like it's like blind to me, but they're telling me that something's going on. They're telling me something's wrong. And then again, with the reference of the accident, they're connecting that in a more physical tone of saying things are occurring to get your attention. Like, what are you doing if you're not following? It's a path of least resistance. So what feels good for you, not feels forced for you. But see, when I say that, it's like, it doesn't feel forced. Like, even with me, like, my career does not feel forced, right? Like, these things don't feel forced, but does it feel heavy on me? Maybe, probably. It feels a little bit like it's just more of conditioning, right? The way that I've second guessed myself, right, is conditioning, because I didn't come into this world being insecure, right? I was taught that. So it's do you see how subtle that is? So it's something subtle here that's making a big difference, and your guides are saying address this subtlety, because there's something that you're stuck in, that you're moving out of. Okay, I do feel that you're moving out of, but the remnants are still sticking to you, and they're saying to continue to follow your psychic ability, which is guiding you to me, right, to this particular guide. And this particular guide is taking you through this evolution. And I say it as evolution because it's really like, I don't know if it's dark night of the soul or any of that kind of stuff. It feels like more of just like how I'm explaining it, like this vision. And so evolution, as in we're showing you the progress of life, right? Of like the greater of life, not just life in this world. It's like a life of everything. We want to show you through that, right? Like literal evolution. And then they're showing like, they want me to revisit what I was talking about, where I was saying like, come on, where are you? Explain it to me in a better way, please. There are beings here on Earth and around that are not of the light. And I've briefly talked about this in one of my general videos. So I think I'll put this in both. I don't know what I'll title this as, if this is more like channeled or if it's more general, because it's both. I'll probably just do, I don't know, I guess I'll meditate on it and see what happens. But it's like beyond this, there's like this, it's like this offshoot of beings that are descendants of darkness, and at their core they're also still of the light. Like they're still of the creator, but there's like descendants of beings that are not of like God. It's like creator and God, which is the same, but I don't really know how to discern it, other than like all of the gods of light. Like if you want to take, you know, I don't know any, because I don't know if Buddha and Krishna and stuff like that is supposed to be like actual gods, or if they're supposed to just be like elevated beings. Jesus is supposed to be the son of God, but Jesus is like God realized, you see what I'm saying? So he like came as like the human form of God. So maybe they see there's also the same thing as like Buddha and stuff. But that's essentially what I'm seeing, is like all of those kind of offshoots of God, the light, is here and existing and within these spirits. But there's like this offshoot that's like ancient, okay? And this is like part of our history in some way, that's like erased history. And these descendants are not of the God of light. Now they're a God of the creator, but they're not God of this particular, they're not descendants of this particular light. And it's like they're demonic influence. So they're like actual demons, and they operate in some sort of different way. but then they've somehow been able to cross over into like these like, what's it called, like layers of, you see what like on Earth, but like different alternate realities. You see, you know the word. But they've been able to cross over in some way. It feels like interbreeding in some way, but also not really. Like it's like bending the energy in some way, and they've been able to kind of like infiltrate in some way and influence in some way. And so that's like a whole nother subject, I guess. I mean, it isn't. It's just starting to slowly, like, I'll be here forever, but like how this relates to you, because they're bringing this up, is saying it's it's almost like it's like your choice whether you want to fight that or not. By fighting that, it's by turning inward into more of you, right? The more you are you, the more you are not of anything else. Does that make sense? Like the more you're of you, the more, like, how do I explain? Like God, like when you see God within you and the light within you, and you love yourself, and you are more of you, authentically you, unafraid, unabashed you, the more that you embody life, and life being embodying life means embracing the fragility, embracing the ability to exist and coexist in this world with so many different energies that may be of an offshoot of anything else, and also of these lighter energies of our origins and how they're being expressed, and aware and levels of awareness of this. The more that you're balancing that, is you're honoring like your wishes and God's wishes of that ability to have free will in thought, in favor, in experience, and choosing light. The more that you drive yourself to what you feel is your destiny, and not necessarily holding on to something that feels needs to be shedded from your life, then the more that you're able to live, and the more that you're able to embrace that path of least resistance in a way that you're able to experience in its entirety what you're here to do. And they're showing this here of like you throwing the baton, where they're showing this as two differences. They're showing the pictures, not the necessarily the whatever it's, you know, what the cards are, where they're showing as someone who is looking out and imagining being able to kind of run around, throw the baton, and dance, but there's no practice. She's not practicing it. She's not going out and doing it. This person's doing it because they're just feeling it, feeling the vibe, right? So this is where they want you to be. They don't want you to be like this, you know. And even with the Two of Wands, sometimes it's like planning, doing. This is doing it. Even if it's a little clunky, they're still doing it, right? And so it's about just throwing the baton and feeling the vibe and going with it. Eight of Wands, magic prayer. So it's going to happen very quickly for you once you, and then if we have making a choice in reversed. So this is where they're saying, this is where the stalling happens, is because when I say that, I feel this frustration of, and then they're relating it back to me where it's like, how do you make a choice if you don't know that there's a choice to be made? And they're saying just do more of what is a noticeable peak of joy. Like, there's actually a little peak of joy. Do a little bit more of that each day, and that's going to help guide you in that direction, right? Let's say you're normally happy or you're normally mediocre, like either one. Something that's gonna make you feel really good, just take note of that. Like, if you have to, so you don't forget, write it down. Like, okay, how did I feel after I did this? I feel really good. And then do that again, and do it again, and do it again, because it's going to drive you to continue to find that feeling and continue to do that. And that's going to help you move into that direction, make that choice. Because you're saying once you make that commitment, and they're saying also just clarify it, like announce it to yourself. They're putting an image of you. I'm not saying what you look like. You look like a little white orb. That's what you look like to me. They're putting a person, you, as a little white orb into like a prayer circle. It actually, like, it looks a lot like this, except there's more wands, and you're like right there in the center. It feels like rocks around you. That's why I'm saying like this, because it has like little flames at the end. So if you go to the beach and put a bunch of seashells around you, that's kind of what it looks like, or like boulders around you. They're showing someone meditating, okay? Not someone, you meditating. You're turning, like, whenever I looked, because I wanted to see if you would change color. When I look at you as you meditate, you're a white orb, but then there's reflections of gold in it. So that's where we want to see you, okay? we want to get your energy to start turning shades of gold, to kind of reflect into that. And they're saying, and you feel very soft, like this feather. I don't know if you've ever felt an owl feather. It's like velvet, velvety soft. It's not even lug, it's luxurious. Wow. That's a fancy word. So anyway, as soon as you make that commitment to make that choice, okay, and whether this has to be you meditating and really announcing it in whatever ways resonant with you, like really declare it, like, I'm making the choice to follow my guidance, my life purpose, my highest purpose. I'm going to follow my intuition, my psychic abilities, of all that's going to serve, you know, higher, the light, you know. I was thinking because it's going to serve everyone else too. But anyway, however you want to say it, the point is it's going to happen very fast, right? Magic prayer. I want to say that the card even explains like the answer is yes, or like your prayers are being answered. This is supposed to kind of indicate oftentimes rapid movement, which is what it feels like anyway. Like very rapidly, you're going to see this manifest for you and open up for you. Okay, the doors open up for you in a very extreme way. It feels where it's like, you know, obviously like rapid, but it's like extreme. It's like, I'm gonna put this in simple terms of an example where it's like you being like, I mean, I really don't want to use this, but that's the example I'm getting because the car accident kind of situation. But it's like, I really want a car, a new car, okay? And then the next day you get rear-ended and then you get a new car. Like, that's not the example. Like, it feels bigger than that, obviously, but you see what I'm saying? But it happens like instantaneously, right? My coffee, okay? My what, you know, because I told you I quit using caffeine. I quit drinking caffeine, and so now I found like this like light roast, and you know, sometimes I do like half decaf, half whatever, and whatever. She spilled it everywhere. So one more card, and it's Our Lady of Answered Prayers. So that's confirmation again right there. Just to close it up, I mean, we have it twice: Magic Prayer, Our Lady of Answered Prayers. It's once again, yes. So it's just about evaluating where you feel like there's some blockage, and then going with it. Okay. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.